Hello everyone and welcome to another stream with me. Today we're gonna do React Q&A. If you watched the React crash course, you likely have some questions. So I wanted to open up this time for you to come and ask me questions, see if there was any place you got stuck, see if you were confused about something. So this is your time to ask me any questions about React, about the crash course, or just anything in general. Just a Q&A. So welcome everybody in the chat. Hi Rudy. Nice to see you here. I think you must be a first-time viewer here. So welcome. Gajanan Tech Hub. Welcome Gajanan. You must be first time too. Azim. Hi. Welcome. Ayush. How's it going? Thank you for joining me. I guess React just dropped new version. React dropped React 19. Which has been a while. Hi Abhinav. Hi Sushant. Where are you guys joining me from and what time is it where you are? Put it in the chat. Ooh, I see some people have answered the poll. I have a poll for you, which is, did you watch the React crash course I launched? Link is in the description. React 19.2 released yesterday. Mohammed, welcome. Oh, React 19.2. Is it already announced? Hi Ritik. Hi Devraj. Where can I get access to React crash course? Oh, I see, because you are on Twitter. You probably don't see link in description. I will share it with you. Okay, let me see how many people answered yes, because then I have a follow-up question for you.
What's so fabulous about the...
Alrighty, where is this poll? Okay, 50% people said yes, 36% people said no, and 14% said where is it? Okay, so for those of you who are saying where is it, I put the link in the chat and in the description on YouTube so you can find that. For those of you who finished the React crash course or watched the React crash course, did you do any homework assignments? And if you did, how many did you do? I'm from Maharashtra, Pune. Oh, welcome, Sushant. I just finished HTML, CSS, and JavaScript a few days ago. Going to start React. Awesome. Can we connect on LinkedIn? Yes, send me a message and make sure you add some message to it, like, hey, we connected on the live stream, so I know it's coming from you. Hi, Abhilash Kumar. Kindly DM me the course link. I won't be able to DM you right now, but I put the link in the chat. Hopefully you can see it. If not, it is on, if you Google, if you YouTube Shruti Kapoor, you can find it. Actually, let me show it to you. Hold on. It's on my profile. Okay, screen share. Which screen am I sharing? Okay. All right. So here's how you can find this. So for those of you who don't have access to the crash course, Aziz also shared the link in Twitter. Thanks, Aziz. You can find it on YouTube. Go look for Shruti Kapoor. And this is the first thing. 2025 full course. Okay. Okay, let's see. If you have any questions about React, about the crash course, about the homework, put that in the chat. That's what this time is for. 80% of React projects don't actually need React. Vanilla JS plus clean HTML CSS would just do that. What do you think, ma'am? I think that's an oversimplification. Like, why are you using React and what is the stuff that you're doing? Yes, vanilla JavaScript and HTML CSS can do most of the stuff, true. But as soon as you start adding more pages, you start adding more functionality, it becomes harder to maintain it. And the reason why we have React is so it becomes easier to add new components, new pages, make it modular, make it easy to read. So of course you can do everything with just HTML and CSS if you really want to, but it makes it harder to read, harder to maintain. It's like saying you can write everything in assembly. Why do you need C++? Does React Server Components is used in production for SSR, or only React is used for CSR in big tech? Okay, so that is a great question. So in the companies that I have worked at, no, I should rephrase. So in the time that React Server Components was released and the company that I worked at, we did not use React Server Components. Now, that was a big tech company. We didn't use React Server Components because we didn't have the need for it. It doesn't mean that it's not being used in big tech. The need for React Server Components is still small as compared to like just server rendering and maybe client-side rendering. So I wouldn't say that it's not being used. Still, a lot of companies are using React Server Components, but it's not as big as server rendering or client-side rendering. Abhijit, hello. So Sean, I'm just confused now because I started learning advanced concepts of React, like hooks, state management, but I'm not able to understand how to create that type of animation or effect on web page. Oh, I'm just confused now because I started learning advanced concepts of React, like hooks, state management, but I'm not able to understand how to create that type of animation or effect on web page. Is there a specific effect you're talking about, Sushant? Is this from the crash course? So if you want a specific type of effect, specific type of like animation, if it's like very sort of niche to that what you're building, you can add CSS classes and then put all of your CSS in there. Now, how do you bake that is a CSS concept. So you can look up some people who are making CSS videos. There's one YouTuber who I really like. His name is Kevin Powell. So his videos are amazing on CSS. So you can watch that video and then you can put whatever CSS you need to add in class name, and then you can add it that way. For simple CSS animations, you can also use Tailwind CSS, which gives you a lot of the stuff out of the box. So you can watch Kevin's videos for CSS. Okay, I was learning currying in JavaScript and there's a question I have encountered: implement currying with placeholders. What's the question? And what do you mean by placeholders? Thanks for creating this course for free. You got it. Your rendering strategy video was awesome. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you found it helpful. I had a lot of fun creating that video. I learned so much in the rendering strategy video as well. I think it's very helpful to understand like the different techniques of rendering, not just CSS, CSR and SSR. There's like hybrid techniques as well. So yeah, I'm glad you found it helpful. It's similar to saying everything can be done with assembly, but the developer experience matters. Yes. Quick question: have you used module federation to share between micro frontends? Have you tried a dynamic Redux store between shared between these MFEs? Yeah. So we did have a shared Redux store at Slack. Although I don't think it had module federation in it. Yeah, it wasn't a module federated module. Module federated module. It wasn't a federated module, but we did have a shared Redux store. And I'm trying to think how we implemented that. Learn, hi, learn. Have you, if you have ever encountered this question, implement currying with placeholders, can you please explain briefly? Let me see what they mean by placeholder. What does that even mean? Currying with placeholder support. Okay. Currying with placeholder support is join ABC, curry join is this, curry join 1, 2, 3, underscore 1, 2, 3. We have to replace the underscore placeholder. What? Oh, I see. Okay, so this is basically currying plus you're given a placeholder, which is could be like a comma, could be like an underscore, and so you have to replace whatever you have to do currying plus add that placeholder. Okay, this blog post does it really well. I don't know if you watched this blog post. I also have a video on currying, so you can watch that. Let me share this. Currying placeholder. React Native is cool. Nice. I have not used React Native, so I cannot attest, but I believe you. Ravi Pratap saying, hello ma'am, I have a question between React.js and Next.js. In which use case we should use which one? That's a good question. I'll quickly answer the next question first, which is this video only for those who are following your course? No, you can have any question about React and you can ask it here. It's not just for people who watched the crash course. Okay, so question between React.js and Next.js, in which use case we should use which one? Okay, so The biggest reason of using Next.js is if you want to use things like the router, if you want to use things like server rendering, if you want to use their optimization components like image. I would say that you start off with React and you see if you have a need for those things, for server rendering especially, then add Next.js or routing. Now, there are libraries that do that for you outside of Next.js. Like if you just need routing, you have TanStack router, you have React router. So you can use those things without, instead of having to use Next.js. I would say start off with React.js and see where you're feeling a limitation, where you're encountering a limitation, and then adopt a new library. Not from your React crash course, sorry, but a Webpack related one. Yeah, I think I answered your question, Hanan, which is I don't think we use module federation. Rumbo is also cool. Nice. Is there a way we can add our website's content in client-side rendering for SEO? That's a great question. If you wanna render your app on the client side, I don't see how you can let it crawl for SEO. Although I was reading an article, let me see. Okay, let me share a screen because this is a really nice article. Okay, so client-side rendering for SEO. The question is, so understand that server-side rendering is good for SEO. Client-side rendering would kill SEO. Is this thinking still correct for newer frameworks like Astro and Eleventy, or is content stored differently or in a way that's still effective for SEO, right? Let's see. It comes down to what the client sees in the response body and when it requests a page. For CSR, this is usually an empty HTML page, which is why SEO is bad in CSR, because the client has to run some JavaScript to render the page, hence client-side rendering. This is bad for SEO because search engines, when indexing your site, still not run JavaScript and just check the HTML content. So all it will see is an empty document. So it can't do what it usually does, which is ranking your site based on the content. However, it seems like search engine had someone help solve this by running your scripts with unknown limits, giving a chance for your page to render fully. But the problem with that is we don't really know how effective it actually is. There's a chance the content might not fully load, rendering, leading to broken pages. SSR, on the other hand, renders page. Reason why this is good for SEO is the response body already rendered the content. One thing is SSG. For Astro framework, we could do any of these methods, and you could configure which method you want at the page level and also CSR at the component level. By default, Astro will use SSG for the whole site, but you can't tell Astro which component should only render in the client. Let's see how Astro does CSR and SEO. Okay, Astro is server first, moves expensive rendering off of sites. Um, I think one way I can think of is you can have an astrocyte and then you can have a React island in between. So this way you'll still get SEO and then you'll get React as well, which will be a client island. Micro frontends are a bad thing. They should be avoided unless that's the only option. Micro frontends sometimes are essential in companies that have different teams responsible for different parts of the app, and they don't necessarily have a single monolith. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It does cause you to like handle your dependencies. Sometimes you have a lot of bloat as well. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Should I go for Bootstrap or Tailwind? Bootstrap is really old now. And I don't think Bootstrap and Tailwind are like one-to-one comparison. I would just go with Tailwind at this point. Yeah. Hello Shruti Di, watched your Netflix Sloan tutorial today. It was really helpful. Thank you. Oh, thanks Mohit. Did you try Vue Next? People praise it a lot. I have been on React for 5+ years and Vue for 1 year. I still think React is better. People tend to make a big deal out of frameworks. Do you agree? I have tried Vue. I liked Vue. I do think people make a big deal out of frameworks. I've been on React for a very long time, and like I can see why I can see the benefits of React. I can also see the downsides of React. So I think once you find a framework, you try to understand what it gives you, and if it is giving you limitations, it's okay to switch. Like I know people like Vue a lot more than React. People who love Vue like absolutely love Vue, and they like it a lot more than React. So can we ask beside React general to tech careers? You can. SSR, SEO, caching, etc. are built in Next.js, otherwise React, I guess. So SSR, SEO, caching is also built, yeah, it's built in Next.js. They're also built in libraries like Tanstack Start. So you don't always have to use Next.js. You can use Next.js. Meta tags for SEO. Yeah, meta tags help a lot. But the limitation with meta tags is that it's a small tag, right? Like it's a small field. Yeah, like what Akshay said, it will not put emphasis on H1 tags and so on. That's why the question for letting SEO identify with content O equals using client-side rendering. Yeah, so meta tags are like limited, so it'll help kind of like rank in, like it'll help with ranking, but it's not as good as SEO of the whole page as well, because you have a lot more content on the page. So this is why server rendering is really helpful. It's about the radix base UI composition pattern. What's the question? Your voice is very low. Oh, is it? Hold on. Testing. This is fine. Oh, you're right. Thank you. Is it much better now? Thanks, Shruti, for your reply. By the way, excited to listen to you at ReactConf. Yay, thank you. When you create context to pass down to props to children, Lintus will tell you to memorize the context value. The value often includes unstable references or functions on object arrays passed down by the consumer. In that case, memorization becomes a waste of memory and compute power on each vendor. What's the right way to handle this? Okay, so why your memorization is a waste is because you have unstable references. So you need to memorize and add callback to your functions. Then your objects, instead of passing the entire object, you could pass in just the fields itself. So that fixes. But then if none of that is helping, then you could try React Compiler, which will automatically compile, automatically memorize for you. And then if that still doesn't work, then you need to break down your data, like your objects, into smaller fields. Typically what I've found is instead of sending the entire object, you could actually send, let me think. If you have a really big list, that may not work. So at this point, I actually replace context with something like Zustand or Redux. It works much better. But I would first try adding callbacks to your functions and then using React Compiler. And then if you can, then split your object into keys. Hi Shruti, in your opinion, if I use React for frontend, what should I learn for backend that would make me more employable? So you can use Node.js for backend. That will be a smooth transition from React to Node.js. But if you want to really become more employable, then I would suggest you use Python, because Python is being used in companies that are doing AI work, and having React on frontend and Python for backend, that makes you super employable because you can work on AI applications. Hi, I started React 3 weeks ago and I've stuck with hooks. Please make a video on use effect versus use callback and use memo and use ref with real practical examples. Oh, okay. So I did make a video on this. Let me know if there is anything else you want. So I have a video on use ref. Then I have a video on use effect. And then what else did you want? Use callback and use memo. Okay. I can make a quick explainer video on all of these. but see if this helps you. But if not, you can also ask questions in Discord as well. Use effect. Useref is actually a hard hook to understand. I'm not gonna blame you. It is difficult to understand. And what is the problem you're facing with use effect? In coming years, would these front-end tech knowledge valuable because AI is able to generate front-end code, flawless, especially React? So what would be the advice you're going to start learning? Oh, I love this question. Okay, so there's a few caveats in there. Okay, so when you build a front-end application, so in the future, this is how I imagine we're going to be working with AI. We're going to be building front-end applications already. Like, we're going to be building front-end applications. We might be using AI to build it. Like, we could be using Claude Code to build it. However, the code that these AI tools generate is not flawless. There are issues. Now, these codes can generate, like these tools can generate code for you. It is your job as an engineer to realize if there is a problem with that code, how to organize that code, how to create the architecture so that these components can talk to each other, how does state management work. So I think the code is still being produced, but then you still have to think about everything around that component. So the component is still being produced by these tools, but like how data flows between them and how you're gonna, when to add new library, when to scale it up, those kind of like architecture decisions is something that you still have to do as a front-end engineer. So right now, the best advice that I can give you is that even if you use Claude Code or IntelliSense or like GitHub Copilot to add to make your code, still think about adding new features and how you're going to send data around, how you're going to architect your app, how you're going to scale your app, because that stuff is not being done by AI right now. And I assume that even in the future, this is the stuff that engineers are going to be doing. Also, the code that AI produces is not flawless. So as an engineer, it's your responsibility to find out what is the problem in that code and how to fix it. In what way do we use AI in production to write code? In what way do we use AI in production to write code? Do you mean like which tools we use, or like how do we integrate with AI? Do you think AI will lower the barrier to entry for web dev roles, and that will reduce the demand for front-end web positions? What will be the skill to have if you want to stay relevant in 5 years? That is a question that a lot of people have been asking, and okay, honestly, yes, because of how easy it is to produce an front-end app, the barrier to entry is going to be really low. I think everybody can be a developer, which is a good thing. We need more people who can develop sites. We need more people who are more independent. What will be the skill to have if you want to stay relevant in 5 years? Just like I said, you cannot be the person who is just creating components, because that is something that AI tools can do easily for you. So in order to stay relevant, you got to think about architecture and scale. Those are the two things that I would recommend you do that. Like, you start thinking about right now, even if you're new to React, even if you're new to this industry. Think about how you're going to scale it and how you're going to optimize the architecture and how you're going to structure the architecture. And how to integrate with other libraries. Like, what are the best practices? Like, spend time learning about best practices. Hi Shruti, I'm facing difficulty in setting up Express, Node.js, TypeScript. Can you suggest some boilerplate or video to look up to? I used to have a boilerplate video on this, but this doesn't have TypeScript. I used to have a boilerplate repo. Let me see. Let me actually find a video for you. Express, Node.js, TypeScript.
फॉर ओनली दिस पर्टिकुलर राउट, ठीक है ये.
Okay, I'm going to send you this video. I haven't watched this, but his videos are amazing. Watch this video by Piyush Agarwal, I think. Piyush Garg. And if you still have questions, come join me in Discord and we can talk there. And I've realized that I don't have Discord link. In the video, so let me add with Discord link. So if you have, so try that video and watch it and see if that makes sense. If it doesn't, come ask me a question in Discord. And this is the Discord link. Okay, but I can guarantee consumers will be properly memoizing their functions and objects. I'm creating a component library. Sarthak, maybe send me your repo in Discord. I'll take a look. What's your take on forms in React? I have used React Hook form for controlled fields. So far, so good. Okay, so forms have become a lot better in React. I have personally not used an external library to manage hooks, to manage React forms. Although I've created forms where it has like 20 different fields and it sends to backend, and it's been working really well. I use actually GraphQL to like gain data, and it was pretty lightweight. So I think forms in React can go a long way. You do run into problems on validation though. So for validation, React Hook form is pretty good too. But the one that I love is Tanstack form. Thanks, Shruti, for the help with SEO and client-side rendering. We'll surely reach out to your channel and recommend others to your channel. Thanks a ton. Oh, thank you, Akshay. That is so sweet. But as AI gets better, won't the code be nearly flawless? Yeah, I mean, technically the code is nearly flawless right now. But yeah, who recognizes that it is flawless and there's a problem? It's going to be you, right? It's going to be you as an engineer. So you have to become that engineer who recognizes whether this is code that can be accepted or whether you need to fix it. Every tutorial on hooks is available with counter button. Oh, hey Prakash, welcome. Use effect is also available. Counter example. Please tell us use cases and explain how things will be easy with their use cases. I did this in this video that I made on use effect. Let me share this again. I hope I didn't use a counter. So actually in this video that I'm sharing, I have shared a video on, I've shared the details of use effect hook by calling an API, which is a commonly used way of fetching in React. What's important in this is the dependency array and the cleanup function. So once you understand that, you understand the basics of use effect hook. Now, one thing that people often confuse with is why use effect is what makes a side effect and like why you should words. What confuses people is what are some good use cases for using use effect. Okay, now the documentation of React will mention that you use use effects for things that are side effects. So what is a side effect? Side effect is something that goes outside of React's boundary. That's how I like to call it. So for example, calling an API that is outside of React's boundary, that is a side effect. You have to synchronize with these external sources, right? So like you call an API, you make sure that your data is ready when the user loads the page. That is an example of using use effect. You want to use use effect when the thing happens because the user has loaded the page. So think about why this should happen. For example, if a user clicks on something, that's not a good use case. That's not the right use case for use effect. Use effect should happen because the user has landed on that page, right? So for example, you need to call database and like fetch products. That's why you call use effect. When the user lands on the page, you want to make sure that the document title is updated. That's when you use use effect. Now, the user clicks a button and you want to make sure that you add something to their cart. That is happening because the user has performed an action of clicking. So it's an event handling thing. It's not a use effect. So you put that in an event handler. And then anytime you reach into React DOM, you can use, actually that's not even a good case for effect. You can use effect for that, but use layout effect typically is the better hook for use effect when you are reaching into React DOM. Oh, no, I stand corrected. Depends on what you're doing with DOM. So use effect or use layout effect would be for when you're reaching into DOM. So I hope that helps. But I'm going to make a whole video on use effect and talk about like the problems with use effect and common issues in use effect. I am hoping to launch that next week, so stay tuned for that. Hi Shruti, I'm facing some difficulty in setting up Express plus Node.js. I already answered this question. How to learn fast in this AI era, and like instead of watching 70 hours React content on Udemy. Build stuff. Build stuff, see how to do a stuff that you want to do, and then watch a video on that. This is how I do, okay? So for example, I need to add AI. Like if you followed me earlier this year, I did a whole like 60-day series on adding AI to my app, to my front-end app. So I built a real estate app, and then I wanted to add like the ability to, I basically wanted to add AI to it. I didn't know where to start, how to start. So I thought the best way to do that would be like if I type in English language, then how do I convert that English language into JSON? And it seems that LLMs can do that for you very easily. So I understood how to integrate with LLM, which platform to use, which framework to use. So I ended up using LangChain, and then how to use structured output parser to convert English into sentences, like convert English sentence into JSON, send that over to send that structured output to get that the output from LLM, and then send that structured output to my UI. So that was like one thing about learning, integrating with AI. Then the next part is, well, you send that output, now you want to build a recommendation engine. How do you build a recommendation engine? So then I looked up like, well, to build a recommendation engine, you need vector database. You need to have, you need to convert your data into embeddings, which are basically vector representations of your data. So then you need to compare one vector embedding with another vector embedding. And the way to do that is by having a database that can store vectors. So then I created a vector database that was convex, and then convex provides you functions that can do similarity search. So I did that. So by like I didn't watch 70 hours of Udemy. I had a project that I wanted to do, and then I think about the functionality that needs to be built. Then I look up how to do that functionality. Some things might be missing in between, but the more you keep building stuff, the more you realize, the more you understand how to do stuff. So the only way to learn fast is to build shit. UseEffect use case equals make an API call to fetch data. If there's no dependencies, then it runs on load, else only when the dependencies change. No, they're not correct. So if there is no dependencies, it runs every time React re-renders, every time there's an update. If there is an empty dependency, that's when it runs only once on load. But then if you put something in the dependency array, then it runs when that dependency changes. Hello Shruti ma'am. Hi Sai. Can you make a tutorial on TypeScript specifically used for React? Oh, what would you like to see in that, Sai? In the crash course, I used TypeScript, but I'm curious if there's something specific you want to see. Hi Shruti ma'am. Hi Onkar. Please take a live sessions 3 days in a week and explain us the documentation of React and important articles, so we'll be able to learn how to do research and read articles and documentation. That's a good idea. Maybe I can start with you don't need UseEffect tomorrow. You don't need UseEffect. This is actually a really great article. And if you want me to do this, if you want me to talk about you don't need UseEffect tomorrow, then just say yes in the chat, and I will come tomorrow. Need UseEffect in React. Say yes if you want to go through this article tomorrow. Okay. It's been up. Actually, I watched a video yesterday, but some part was cut. I was not able to complete it because of it. Oh, really? Which part? Guide on forward ref. Guide on forward ref. So actually, you don't need to do forward refs in React 19 anymore. You can just pass it as a prop. So watch that useref video, Onkar, that is on my channel. And anytime you need to pass that ref to the next component, you can just pass it as a prop. You don't need to forward ref it anymore. Do you understand Hindi? I do understand Hindi. Node Express is fine, but when I have to configure TypeScript, in which I'm facing problem, no issues while using JavaScript. But when I have to configure TypeScript, in which I'm facing problem, no issues while using JavaScript. I don't think I understand your question, Kabir. Node Express is fine, but when I have to configure TypeScript, in which I'm facing problem, no issues while using JavaScript. Okay. Is knowing the syntax and code structure and all necessary, as I know when to use state, use effects, props, restructuring, then, and all. Knowing the syntax and code structure and all necessary, as I know when to use state, use effects, props, restructuring. Oh, okay. So you know how to use state, use effects, props, restructuring. You're asking if it's important to remember the syntax and code structure. I mean, I think the more you build the app, the structure and syntax is something that you'll just remember. So it's fine if you don't remember syntax right now. Honestly, like a lot of people look up syntax. I also had to look up syntax all the time. So it's fine. As long as you understand the concept and why you're using use state, use effects, I think that's more important. Can you tell me how I can do which part? You have skipped or cut it down in video. I was unable to see where Tailwind you have used. I mean, which file? Oh, yeah, I noticed that part got cut out. Okay. So for that, let me give you the repo. YouTube React course. Okay, so this is the file that you need, vite config. You want to make sure that you have the Tailwind plugin added here. Then you want to make sure that you have the path set up properly in tsconfig JSON, which is here. And I think that should be it. Yeah, I think that should get you set up, and then make sure you have like Tailwind in your package JSON. Is the reason frameworks like React remain more popular and widely used despite newer ones like Svelte being faster and easier, mainly due to ecosystem strength, popularity, or job market relevance? All of them. Ease of use, I think, mostly, and community strength. Is knowing the syntax and code structure not necessary, as I know when to use React state, props, and when to use. So if I use AI to complete this, is it okay? Yeah, you can use AI to complete those. But here's the thing. When you turn AI off, are you still able to complete those? That would be a test. If you can, then feel free to use AI. If you can't, then you need to learn the structure. React has many libraries. Maybe that's why it's popular. Yeah, I think ecosystem is strong with React. What is forward ref? Forward ref was actually a method, function actually, that was used pre-React 19, that was used to send one ref from that is created in one component down to another component. So actually in React you couldn't send refs over earlier pre-React 19, but with React 19 you don't need to do that. So what you would do is, if you created a ref in like an input component, and then you have to pass it down to another component underneath, like maybe a form component, and you have to pass it down to a child component, then you would wrap the ref in, you would wrap your entire component in forward ref and then send your ref that way. It was always a mess because it would always give issues when you would receive, like when your ref would be undefined in the next function, so always created issues. But with React 19 you don't have to do forward ref, so you can just pass the ref down to your next component. Like let's say you're passing it from form into, I don't know, like a smaller input inside, then you just pass it as a prop, so you have ref with you. It's pretty easy now. Thank you, ma'am, for answering my questions. I appreciate it. You got it. Sai, what all skills a front-end developer should have in this AI era apart from React and libraries knowledge, and where to learn those? Oh, this is a great question. So for this, let's take a look at some job descriptions. Okay, I feel like I've done this in a video. Let me see. Oh yeah, I've covered this in a video, which is jobs that AI will replace in okay, this is the video and I'll share it at this point. So basically the idea is that you go through a job description like for front-end developers, and then if you want to go for something that is AI adjacent, then you look for a job in a company that is looking to build, that is already building AI applications, because then they will tell you like what other skills you need as a front-end developer. We'll do this in a second, but let me share this. How to stay updated as an engineer in 2025. How to stay updated in AI era in 2025. Maybe that should be the name of this video. Hold on, let me change the name of this video. How to stay updated as in the AI era. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna go through a job post in LinkedIn, and let me find the job post and I'll share my screen. Okay, we're gonna look for a front-end developer job. Okay, so let's look for this staff front-end developer. What else do we have? Staff front-end engineer. I don't know if this company uses AI, but we'll see. I'm gonna zoom this in. Okay, so X people coined phantom data fetching, caching, and state management. That's the main important thing that they're asking for. Okay, what is the skills? Okay, I don't know the skills. Carbon robotics, let's look at this one. Okay, this is also not using AI. Let's find a company, maybe let's find this one. machine learning platform, software engineering front end. Okay, this is like a perfect job that will likely going to be using AI in their everyday work. So let's take a look at this. So front-end engineer, machine learning platform. The front-end engineer and the ML infrastructure team builds intuitive, high-impact tools. Will create user interfaces that support ML workflows like model training, experiment tracking, and generative AI development, empowering teams working on search, recommendations, fraud, chatbots, and more. ML experience is not required. This is a perfect opportunity to learn AI, ML, generative AI by working alongside. Okay, cool. So, work in intersection of engineering and AI. Perfect kind of team that we are looking for. So, what do they need? Proficiency in modern JavaScript and TypeScript and front-end frameworks, especially React. Okay, so React is important. Strong understanding of UI UX principles and ability to build intuitive user interfaces. Okay, this is a really important skills that you don't necessarily see people talk about, but this is something that companies will like test you on in interviews, like strong understanding of UI UX principles. I actually, while going through my React crash course, I help you kind of build this intuitive experience. But the idea is when you're building that app, you have to think about how that experience works for people. So like when you are creating components, you have to think about how does this component fit in the rest of the architecture. Like if you're building the header component, is the header full width? Is it small width? What other components are there? How can you structure this app? Should you create sibling components? Should you create child components? So thinking that is a way of building an understanding of how UI UX principles, and also building user interfaces that work well with each other. And an additional part of that is also making sure that the app is accessible. So you're not just like building apps that can only be used with keyboard, with like mouse, but also people who are using keyboard can use the app as well. So this is something that is not usually talked about when we talk about React and frameworks and stuff like that, but it is so important. And like they'll test you on this in interviews. Experience integrating with REST, gRPC APIs with a solid grasp of full stack fundamentals, including backend interaction patterns and data flow. Okay, this is important, right? So far there has been no AI stuff, but they also talk about integrating with REST APIs and a solid grasp of full stack fundamentals, including backend interaction patterns and data flow. So that's important. Comfortable collaborating with backend ML infrastructure teams to define consume data endpoints in Python backend services. Familiarity with Gen AI coding tools like Cursor. Oh, interesting. Okay, so AI stuff, they're saying familiarity with ML workflows, experiment tracking on model management tools, background in building developer tools or internal platforms at scale, experience in cloud environments like AWS or GCP. So the AI stuff is this familiarity with ML workflows, experiment tracking on model management tools. Let's find another one now. Maybe Microsoft. So look, they have mentioned MonoRepo, leveraging tools like NX or TurboRepo. What else? Who else is using AI? Maybe Code Assist. Senior staff engineer. Oh, let's see this. Okay, this is AI stuff. So 2 years of experience with generative AI techniques like LLMs, multimodal, large vision models, or with Gen AI related concepts like language modeling, computer vision. Experience with machine learning algorithms and tools like TensorFlow, artificial intelligence, deep learning, natural language processing, or related machine learning discipline. So that is pretty intense. That's really like a ML plus front end role. So yeah, so what I would recommend you is find a job posting in find a job posting in LinkedIn and see what they are looking for, and then tailor your experience according to that. So learn what you don't have in this. Okay, what's next? Control the flow of rendering fetching. I never saw anyone using use layout effect. Yeah, it's not a very common one, but it's an important one. Explain component lifecycle in simple way. I actually have done that in my React course. Hold on. Oh, right. So the crash course was a small course, right? It was only a 2-hour thing, but I have a full React course that talks about more of the concepts, like component rendering, the commit phase, the render phase in this. So check that out. Wow, there's a lot of comments in chat. Why did I render? Good library to know why a component got rendered. Most of the time the culprit is use effect. You should use the profiler. That I find super helpful to understand why a component got rendered. So what I typically do is now with React 19 and with compiler here, I add React compiler and then I add then I'll view my component in profiler, and that will give me a good indication of why my component is re-rendering despite having compiler added, like despite being automatically memoized. Because typically earlier you would see that your component was re-rendering, so you would memoize it, and then it would re-render again, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, right? But now you get like memoization out of the box. So now you add React compiler to it and see why a component re-renders, and it'll probably say like props changed, or this is the first time the component re-rendered. So then you can take a look at that. Lots of use effect often cause bugs with dependencies, can trigger unwanted reruns, and it's easy to misuse. Great power brings great bugs. Here. Which course is best for React to master? There's tons of courses out there. Like professional level is giving time on courses will good for us. So I would say that maybe do like 1 or 2 courses. So once you understand the concepts, then start building things, because you can do as many courses as you want, but if you don't build anything, you won't understand how to do it. But which course is best? I will show you the course that I already shared the course that I created, but the course that I used to learn was, now there's tons of courses, so I don't know if this is the best one, but this is the one that I used. This one. And the reason I used this is because I was using Redux at the time, and honestly I love this course. React course. Okay. Hey, which is the best AI agent framework? LangChain is something that I love. Thanks, ma'am, for your detailed answer on my question. You got it. Hi, Shruti. Hi, stranger. Best way to learn is the official documentation, then try yourself, come up with real world scenarios and project and solve it. Yeah, agreed. I actually learn better if I watch a video first, then I go read the documentation. Then I will like build something, and then I'll go back and forth between watching videos, reading documentation. So I like to start with the video first. I'm a more video person. Hi ma'am, how to optimize a React app? What are all the things we need to consider? So Tech Grinder, I actually did a section of this in my React crash course, which I should, oh, I'm not sharing this. I did a section on this in my React crash course, and I'm going to make a whole section on optimizing your React app as well. So watch that section and then let me know if you have any questions. And you can post questions, either like DM me on Twitter or send it to me on Discord. Let me share the exact section with you. There's a chapter on this. Performance optimization. Okay. Is knowing the syntax and code structure not necessary? Oh, I already answered this question. There is more to life than API calls and React hooks. Yes. Oh, somebody said yes. Okay, cool. So I asked if you want to go through, you might not need an effect. Somebody said yes. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, ma'am. How to optimize React app? Okay, I already answered this. My cast is also Kapoor. From which city you belong? Oh, I'm from Chandigarh. How to type custom hooks, fetch data from APIs, and there are some specific types of React like React Native, process, etc. I'm not getting the idea of how to write TypeScript. So Sai, I covered this in my video. So watch that video on my channel, React Crash Course. I covered how to make a custom hook. I covered how to fetch data from API in the custom hook, and then I covered how to convert it into React query, TanStack query. Namaste, tell me a bit about Strat Transition. Okay, I have a video on Strat Transition as well. I have a video on React 19, so React 18. Oh wait, I don't have a video on React 18. I have my official conference talk, so I'll send that to you. Okay, this video. This is the start transition video. Wait, was it a part of this? I think it was part of this. How can we handle multiple use effect hooks with related or overlapping dependency, and what's your strategy to avoid bugs or race conditions when updating async state in React? Oh, that's a great question. So if you have multiple use effect hooks that have similar overlapping dependencies, as in you update thing in one and then you consume it in the other, the best practice is to put all of that in one use effect. You don't want to have multiple use effects that are reading the same thing and writing the same thing. So combine them in one. दीदी सुनो मेरी बात, मेरी आगे अभी एज अभी जस्ट 15 है और मुझे HTML CSS JavaScript Bootstrap React.js Python Flask MySQL और MongoDB और अभी Node.js and Express.js सीख रहा हूँ मैं, कुछ सजेशन दो और आगे क्या सीखूँ. So for you gaming, I would suggest build something with it. It's not enough to just learn these things, but rather you should learn how to build something with it. And you have everything you need to learn. Like, you have everything that you need at this point. So like, learn this and think about how to scale this. The first thing you need to learn is not to spam in chat. That is true. Hi ma'am, why we need Vite to set up our project? Is it good to depend on Vite? Yeah, Vite is like actually the standard way of setting up with React. So why you need Vite to set up React is because, I'm guessing that's for React, is because it sets up the compiler for you. It sets up hot module reload for you. So it gives you everything you need to get started with React, and also sets up the transform for you. So you could do everything without Vite. But it's manual, it's complicated, it's difficult to set up. So Vite just provides a good, easy way to get started. Pre-Vite, we had Create React app, which has now been deprecated. So Vite is the standard way of setting up. Having issue while setting up TypeScript with React and Vite, getting red squiggly lines below HTML elements and import statements. Okay, so what I would say is, Sai, if you're getting error like that, first get AI to answer that question for you. More likely than not, it'll understand why the problem is happening and it'll give you a solution. If you're still not able to do it, find out the answer on like Stack Overflow. I'm sure other people would have come across that problem as well. If you still cannot find an answer to that, Sai, like send it in Discord, in our Discord. What is the best agent? AI agent already answered that. Can you please do a JavaScript interview question series that will cover everything? Oh, I did that in my channel, Ashish. I have a whole like series of JavaScript interview questions. Yes, please come tomorrow with use effect articles. Oh, Aziz shared the link. Thanks, Aziz. We'll also start taking live sessions. What do you want to cover in live sessions? As a fresher, can I apply for front-end role or should I need to learn back-end too? You can definitely apply for front-end role. You don't need to learn back-end to apply for front-end role. It'll be helpful for us if you take live sessions and explain us documentation and articles. How should I read them? We're not efficient in English, due to which we become unable to understand. Okay. Can you check my account? First post I posted about one product I built. Send me a DM, Zekis. I'll take a look. Great work with tutorials and deep diving into the code base. Thank you. Accessibility is very important, they always ask. Yeah. Okay, please stop. Please don't spam the chat. We're going to start up as a front-end developer intern. What should I do next? As a front-end developer intern, what should I do next? Find a full-time job. Do you use React Query and Context? Yeah, React Query I use all the time, and Context not as much. Honestly, I like using React Context when the app is small, but I rather use like state management libraries like Zustand and stuff. Hello Akash, welcome. Can you make a video? Can you make or suggest a video on TanStack which is not just syntactical but showed how to apply in a scalable project? Yes. Okay, so part of my React Crash course also adds React TanStack Query and TanStack Router, but I'm going to make a whole video on TanStack Start as well. It's going to come this month. So stay tuned for that. Shruti, can you explain how to play with Redux dispatch and reading from state in the same component as these bring asynchronous? You might get stale data, correct? Oh, that's a great question. I can make a video on that. I haven't made any Redux videos, but I can make a video on that. Not getting enough calls for React.js in Bangalore. Can I also learn Node.js to become more in dev? I think if you're not getting enough calls with React.js in Bangalore, the problem might be with your resume. Can I also learn Node.js to become more in dev? You can learn Node.js, yeah. I mean, having another, like becoming a full stack dev would definitely help in getting more jobs. But I would give your resume for a review. My English has finished now. Please बताओ कि आप as a front-end engineer job कर रहे हैं और please कि लाइव सेशंस कब से स्टार्ट करेंगी आप और टाइम क्या होगा, और क्योंकि आप ही तो बिज़ी रहते होगे। आप फ्रंट एंड इंजीनियर जॉब कर रही हैं, सो द क्वेश्चन इज, एम आई वर्किंग एज अ फ्रंट एंड इंजीनियर, व्हेन आर द लाइव स्ट्रीम्स गोना स्टार्ट? I usually do live streams on like Thursday, Friday, and then I start at 10 a.m. my time, PST, and I quit my front end job, so now I am a full-time YouTuber. How do you get started at front end? Is backend development still a viable path without doing front end? Yes, you can still be a backend developer without doing front end. How do you get started as front end? At front end, how did I get started, or how does anybody get started? So for front end, like, I highly encourage you to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript first, and then pick a library. So you can pick React, build an app, build something small. Once you've learned HTML, CSS, JavaScript, I actually encourage you to do the crash course that I just published. Build a small app and then learn how to call an API. Then you can add more libraries into it. Hi, you answered me regarding the multiple ease effects merged into single one, but that is problem, right? What if it's complex logic and debugging difficult, right? Any other ways? Maybe share me your code, Prof. Felix. How do I get my resume reviewed? So we actually do resume review in our Discord channel, Chandrasekhar. So come and join our Discord. We host regular sessions for reviewing resume. If you want me to review a resume, I also have a link. I also have a TopMate link. I don't think it's in the thing, but you can book a TopMate call with me. Book a one-on-one call. What can be a better option, React with backend and Node or with Java? So I am like JavaScript person, so I would say Node. I also think that Node is being used more often and frequently than Java. However, there are still a lot of big tech companies using Java, so whatever you do, whether it's in Java, it's in Node, it doesn't matter, just do something. Node is totally fine. I was out of market for a year and now salaries are not very good. Is it visa news or AI agents taking place? It's just the economy everywhere. Instead of learning framework or libraries, do you think learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is enough? Technically, it is enough if you want to build a website. However, when you start scaling it up, you're going to find it hard to make like new pages with JavaScript. It's going to be hard to manage your data. So you're going to start thinking of how you can make it easier, how you can render pages easily. And that's when you start using libraries like React. Now, like I said, it's enough to make a website. However, you won't be able to find a job with that easily, because companies who are hiring, just like I showed you on LinkedIn, they're all looking for React or some framework. So you're gonna need to learn a framework if you want to get a job in front end. Oh, okay, what other questions can I answer? Okay, let's see how the poll is going, by the way. Okay, 58% people have watched the course. 30% people haven't watched the course yet. What? Why? Oh wait, did I even pin the course? Hold. Ma'am, make videos on templating engine, nunchucks, handlebars. Oh my god, really? How long do you learn and have you go through Udemy courses for front end? How long do I learn? I don't know, every day, every week. Do you go through Udemy courses on front end dev? I do, yeah. I like Udemy courses. I got 2 startup offers and both want me to move to US. What is good pay to ask for? Okay, so Akash, check pay on levels.fyi. And that'll give you an idea of what is the pay you should ask for. Hey Matrix, welcome. How are you? Did you check Free Code Camp full stack web dev video 48 hours? Can you have a look and let us know, is it worth it? So I actually, when I got started with front-end development, Free Code Camp is what I watched. I mean, in addition to other stuff, but Free Code Camp was what I followed their tutorial and everything. Let me know if you have a video link for that, Adarsh. I'm gonna try to find it. Free Code Camp 48 hours. Man, that must have been so hard to make. Become a full stack developer from scratch. Holy shit. I'll watch this and let you know. Suggestion: give timestamps of live sessions for people watching it later, as these raw conversations are more beneficial than any tutorial. By the way, I've sent the LinkedIn connection request earlier. Devraj, if you're willing to do timestamp parsing for me, like write it down for me and just send it to me, I would be really grateful. It takes a lot of time to write timestamps. TypeScript कैसे पढ़े? TypeScript. So I actually like video for TypeScript. I think I did Udemy course on TypeScript. I did not like the documentation. It wasn't easy for me to follow through. How did you learn Node.js? Same thing, Udemy video or some YouTube video. For me, I usually follow, I usually do learning through videos, and then I'll build some app in it, and that helps me understand how to use the stuff that I just learned. And then I keep adding more features and keep looking up how to add add that feature. So it's usually incremental for me. Okay, I'm going to take last few questions. So if you have any question, put that in the chat. I also want to remind you to follow our community guidelines. And I will not answer questions that do not follow community guidelines. Okay, I have last 5 minutes and I will take some questions. So if you have any question that I didn't answer, put them in the chat. It's easy for me to write code in JSX, but not in TSX. Yeah, I think it's just practice. Keep practicing. The 48 hours course on Free Code Camp is the compilation of Scrimba's course, and its React course was a good place to start. Oh, okay. Is there any video link about learning politics in Office? I wish. Uh, I'm a junior developer, just started my first job. I'm doing some migration work, need to remove all material UI components and recreate them. I'm scared. Google engineers made them. How can I do? Okay, so that's a great question, Azu. Why are you migrating it? You're migrating because there was some problem to begin with, right? So understand what that problem was. It doesn't matter who created the first component, okay? When you're migrating, oftentimes it's very easy to think like, well, that was done really perfectly before. How am I going to recreate that? Try to understand what the problem is. Oftentimes the problem is not with the code quality, right? The code was probably written really well, but it's likely not working for you for some reason. Whether it's a design, whether it's the ease of use, whether it's the customization, whatever that might be, find that problem and then fix that problem. I have a question. When will you start live sessions, and why is there no video in Hindi? I just answered this question for you. I'll start, like I've been doing live streams pretty much every week. I usually do it on Thursday and Friday. You will know when the next live stream is coming by subscribing to this channel and hitting the bell icon so you get notified when a new live stream is scheduled. I typically do it on Thursday and Friday at 10 a.m. Why is there no video in Hindi? There's a video in Hindi. I have a video in, actually I turned it off maybe. There's so many other people making great videos in Hindi. Like if you want Hindi videos, follow Code with Harry. He makes all his videos in Hindi. And also Hitesh, his channel is called Chai and Chat. Chai or Code. Amazing people. You should consider streaming on Twitch, Shruti. This is being streamed on Twitch, I hope. Yeah, it's being streamed on Twitch. Next.js is built on top of React, so you should ideally know React first. Learn React or Next.js first. Yeah, learn React first. What is your opinion on vibe coding? Do you use any latest agents in your work life? I love vibe coding, but there's a right way to do live coding, and then there is the lazy way to do vibe coding. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you're building a component. Let's say you're building a video player component, okay, which is actually a homework in the React crash course. Now you know exactly what to do. You know that you have to have a video element. You know you have to have a use state hook. You know you probably need data to come in. You know what you need to do. You just need to type it out, right? You can vibe code that and just tell AI to write this for you, right? Let's say that now you're building a new feature and you have no idea how to do it. Like let's say you're building like an email notification system and you just tell like AI to build an email notification system for you. It can build it, you got it, it's working, whatever. But you have no idea how this is working. That is not the right application of vibe coding. I suggest that you learn how stuff should build before vibe coding it, so that whenever you have an AI generated code, you know how to debug it. Oh wow, that was loud. Thank you. So that when you have an AI generated code, you know how to debug it and you know how to maintain it. So I think vibe coding is really helpful if you know what you're doing. But if you're just using vibe code to like bypass learning and be a lazy developer, that's not good. Community support can also be a reason for migration. Yeah, absolutely. Are you based in SF? I'm actually based in Seattle. Latest agents in your work life. So I use a few actually. I use Combi, which is something that I love. I use Copilot, IntelliSense. I use ChatGPT, Cloud Code, and V0. I love the way Kent used AI in the mock interview video. Yeah, exactly, right? So like that was a prime example. So you know what to do. You're just telling AI what to do. You just know, no, you know how to do it. You're just telling AI what to do. So this way you are kind of like, you're kind of like using AI as your assistant. It's just typing out the code for you that you already know. Some people say that whatever is going on in SF will come to India, basically tech waves, example AI, Web3 started there and moved to world. Can you see what's currently going on other than AI? Other than AI research. I do agree that whatever's going on in SF will come to India, especially with that H1B-ish shit. Can you see what's currently going on other than AI research? Honestly, right now, everybody's focused on AI. प्लीज़ हुक्स पे वीडियो बना दो, स्पेशली यूज़ कॉल बैक. हितेश भाई की यूज़ कॉल बैक की कुछ समझ नहीं आई. प्लीज़ आप एक बार उनकी यूज़ कॉल बैक वीडियो चेक करना. आई थिंक वो सही यूज़ केस नहीं था. ओके, आई विल चेक. How much React is needed to move to Next.js? When to switch? Which concepts are a must? Okay, so Devraj, I'm going to make a video on when to add TanStack start to a video and to an app, and this will be the exact example for adding Next.js as well. So stay tuned for that video, Devraj. I'm hoping to release it this month. But to answer your question, I actually answered that earlier. React is good for client-side rendering, right? When you need server rendering, you need a platform that can do server rendering for you, unless you want to like manually do server rendering. Then you can use Next.js, you can use TanStack start. And then what concepts are a must? I think some of the server rendering for sure is must. Performance optimization is great, is a must. What else? Routing is a must. You should check out GLM 4.6. My keyboard died. Oh, Hugging Face. I'll check this out. I haven't used Hugging Face much actually. Nowadays, nobody's posting about vibe coding. Because vibe coding gets so much hate now. Everybody's vibe coding, nobody's posting about it. AI bubble is going to burst and take down funding of all of the startups with them. Okay, folks, this is all the stuff that we had time for. Thank you so much for joining me. We've been going on for almost 2 hours. If you have not watched the React crash course, the course is linked in the description. I will do another one of this live Q&A. So I hope that you will watch the course, do the homework assignments. If you have questions, bring them to the next live Q&A sessions. You can always reach out to me on Discord. And if you have any questions or if you want me to take a look at your code, send it to me on Discord. But I want you to know that learning React, learning Next.js, this is all a process. Take it easy, build something you like, something you're enjoying, and then everything else will just become like solving a puzzle. You're just leveling up one step at a time, from like 200 pieces puzzles to like 500 pieces puzzles to like 1,000 pieces puzzles. You're just leveling up. So yeah, take it easy. The way to learn is to maybe follow a video, follow a tutorial, follow a documentation, build something, and then think about what other features you want to add, and then keep building something. The only way to learn, the best way to learn is by building something. On that note, thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I will see you in the next live stream. Stay tuned for that. And hit subscribe if you haven't, and hit that bell icon so you know when the next live stream is coming. I'll see you soon. Bye.